Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at NDN Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button and be the first to get notifications.
After a long wait, a new governing board was inaugurated in January 2023 to pilot affairs of the NDDC with a mandate to revamp the commission and ensure improved service delivery to largely backward communities in the Niger Delta region. The following documentary highlights the activities of the new managers of the NDDC as well as persistent challenges they have had to contend with in the period under review.
Shortly after their appointment in November 2022, members of the governing board of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) were inaugurated by immediate past Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Mr. Umana Okon Umana, on the 4th of January 2023, on behalf of former President Muhammadu Buhari. The inauguration of a substantive NDDC board had been long anticipated by many anxious groups seeking an end to the appointment of successive interim management committees mandated to pilot the Commission's affairs over a long period of time. Needless to say, the demand for appointment and inauguration of a substantive board came with high expectations from diverse groups looking forward to improved service delivery by the NDDC. Aware of the enormity of the task ahead, the new NDDC governing board hit the ground running as soon as it was inaugurated in January this year. Hours after the inauguration in Abuja, the board members flew into Port Harcourt for a maiden meeting with NDDC directors of the Commission's corporate headquarters, where they were briefed by the board chairman, Loretta Onochi.
We are here to reposition NDDC. We are here to serve the people of the Niger Delta and by extension, the people of Nigeria. We are here to do things differently. We have come with ideas, and I believe that each and every one of you sitting down here has great and beautiful ideas. If you have been lost in the system of doing things in the way it used to be done, please dust it and throw it away. We have new ideas, and we welcome the same new ideas from you.
During an enlarged meeting with staff members, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the NDDC, Dr. Samuel Ogbuku, sought their cooperation to ensure improved service delivery under the current governing board of the Commission.
For some of us who have been in the fore of the agitation for the development of the Niger Delta, I think having given this opportunity, much is also being expected. And for me, I see it as something that I have to take seriously. I can assure you that we are here with a message of hope. We are going to work together to ensure that we improve on this organization.
From the outset, the new NDDC governing board had considered it imperative to carry out its intervention in collaboration with the Commission's mandate states, as clearly spelled out in its Establishment Act. This informed a courtesy visit to immediate past Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, at Government House, Port Harcourt, where the NDDC board members unveiled the Commission's intervention strategy and sought relevant inputs from the government of Rivers State. In due course, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the NDDC, Dr. Ogbuku, also held a meeting with Bayelsa State Governor Senator Doye Diri to give progress report on activities of the current board. Having conferred with state governors who are members of the NDDC Advisory Committee, as provided under Part 3 of the Act establishing the Commission, the governing board organized a retreat in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. The 3-day retreat, tagged Making a Difference, was organized for the board and management of the NDDC to build their capacity to bring about rapid and even development in the Niger Delta region. In his opening remark, former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Mr. Umana, who identified areas of interest for the new board, urged its members to justify the trust reposed in them.
I would also like to remind the board that the people of the Niger Delta and Nigerians at large expect to make that qualitative difference that will result in a turnaround in the affairs of the region.
The obviously invigorated management and board of the NDDC, arising from the Uyo retreat, began to explore possible ways of impacting more positively on the lives of blighted communities in the Niger Delta region. To this end, the current NDDC board inaugurated a 12-member committee on public-private partnerships to seek alternative sources of generating funds to execute legacy projects intended to ensure speedy development of the Niger Delta region. Dr. Ogbuku, while inaugurating the committee chaired by Engineer Emmanuel Aldo Huabura, was optimistic that the partnership with the private sector and other local and international agencies would build public confidence in the Commission's activities and enable it achieve its mission and vision at a much faster pace. At its inception, the NDDC executed many impactful projects such as road construction, rural electrification and land reclamation in collaboration with state governments and the private sector. One of such high-impact projects is the Ogbia-Nimbe Road in Bayelsa State. With the construction of the Ogbia-Nimbe Road, scores of coastal communities in Bayelsa East Senatorial District that were hitherto isolated are now directly linked by road. In a bid to reenact the good old days at the NDDC board began to establish contacts with prospective partners to key into its public-private partnership initiative. Only recently, the Commission's Managing Director Dr. Ogbuku held a meeting with Okumbo Sage, Managing Director of SPDC and Chairman of Shell Companies in Nigeria. Speaking during the meeting in Port Harcourt, the NDDC boss noted that his commission was desirous of reviving partnerships that would attract rapid development to the Niger Delta region.
So in order to change this trend, to at least build a lasting legacy, we are looking at how do we partner? Can we sit down together and think of a way forward? And we can agree on specific projects where we can construct landmark projects in the Niger Delta. We can try to do Warriors Campus. We can do legacy projects. That is when we can steady the ship of the NDDC. So in order to save the NDDC right now, we need to do something very, very drastic.
In his remark, Mr. Osage lauded the vision of the new NDDC board, noting that it would drive rapid development and douse tension in the Niger Delta region for oil companies to operate with minimal risks.
Everybody wants the NDDC to succeed, because once the NDDC succeeds, our business is a lot easier. The problem we will have is if we are moving in one direction, the NDDC is either moving or is not moving in another direction, then our life just gets complicated. So there's a shared interest in making sure that we succeed.
In furtherance of its development agenda for the Niger Delta through collaborative efforts, the NDDC subsequently held a summit on public-private partnerships in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial hub. While addressing participants at the summit, Dr. Ogbuku observed that faced with inadequate funding, the Commission had to go into partnerships to raise substantial funds required to execute high-impact projects in a region where development had been stalled by crumbling infrastructure. Dr. Ogbuku informed his audience that public-private partnerships would also provide the NDDC with requisite technical expertise in project management.
By partnering with this sector, we can successfully leverage these resources to implement our programs and projects. Another stakeholder we cannot do without is the government at all levels. In other words, we are embarking on this journey of developing the Niger Delta with the full participation of all stakeholders.
The Lagos Summit was attended by top government functionaries, traditional rulers and captains of industry, all of whom lauded the public-private partnership approach to infrastructure development in the Niger Delta region. Former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Mr. Omana, and one-time Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Dr. Dakuku Peterside, gave a thumbs up to the NDDC board and management for their visionary leadership.
NDDC certainly would not have the capacity to do it alone. So they're inviting other partners, international agencies, players in the oil industry, the financial sector, to partner with the NDDC on the basis of a PPP.
Globally, development is becoming more inclusive, and it means that there must be a fusion between the private sector and the public sector for us to have the end point, which is sustainable development. On that note, I commend the current leadership of the NDDC.
At the Lagos Summit, the NDDC signed a memorandum of understanding worth over $15 billion with Atlanta Global Resources Incorporated, a US-based firm specializing in financing capital projects. The deal was struck to construct a mega rail line that will connect 9 states comprising the Niger Delta region.
Development, transformation, Niger Delta,
In its Establishment Act, the NDDC is mandated to confer with other critical stakeholders in designing and implementing programs and projects to transform largely backward communities in the Niger Delta region. To this end, the new governing board has held a series of meetings with traditional rulers in the region. Recently, the Commission's Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Ogbuku, visited the Olu of Warri, Ogiame Atuashe III, in his palace. During the meeting, the NDDC boss hinted that his team was embarking on big-ticket projects to ensure rapid development of the Niger Delta region, one of which was the abandoned Warri Escravos construction project, designed to boost the economy of Delta states.
We felt to make Warri Kingdom come back to life, we needed to connect Warri Kingdom to Escravos, because Escravos is the hub of oil and gas activities in Delta State. And in connecting Warri to Escravos, that means the roads to Escravos need to be completed.
Impressed with the vision of the NDDC under its current leadership, the Olu of Warri had promised to reach out to prospective partners to facilitate completion of the project.
We will do all that we can to speak to the government of Delta State, to speak to the IOCs that operate in this kingdom, and even we are willing to put our own selves to show that we are seriously committed to this thing working.
In his several meetings with traditional rulers across the Niger Delta region, the workaholic NDDC boss had also conferred with the Amayanabo of Okochiri Kingdom, His Royal Highness King Ateke Tom, to brief him about plans to recommence work on the stalled Okrika Port Harcourt Road and Bridge construction projects. In 2013, the NDDC commenced work on the 3.9-kilometer long bridge designed to link Port Harcourt and Okrika from the Burikiri end of the Garden City. The bridge was designed as an alternative route to the ever-busy and chaotic Eleme-One axis, where most of the federal government's biggest investments are sited. While on an inspection visit to the project site, Dr. Ogbuku hinted that the Port Harcourt-Okrika Road and bridge construction projects would be revived and redesigned to allow for easy passage of bigger vessels along the coastline.
We believe at the moment the project is stalled at the moment, as you can see, because there's nobody on site working, and we're also going to involve the contractor too to know why the project is stalled. If it is something that has to do with payments, we have to look at how to mobilize back to site.
Expectedly, the prospect of having this all-important project completed in no distant time is being greeted with positive reactions from its intended beneficiaries.
We need this project more than any other project. If they say they want to come tomorrow, we will even do free labor for them.
we'll go ahead and carry their things to this place because we really need this project.
They should help us to do this bridge for us. It will also facilitate not only we alone, for everybody, for the whole Port Harcourt and the River State at large.
The new project management culture of the NDDC follows a directive by former President Buhari to ensure full implementation of recommendations made in a forensic audit carried out to scrutinize the Commission's activities from its inception in 2001 to 2019. The forensic audit report submitted to the Presidency in September 2021 reveals that over 13,000 projects sited in locations across the Niger Delta had been abandoned at various stages of completion, while others were not executed at all. In line with the presidential directive, the NDDC in November last year cancelled some 1,301 unexecuted contracts for which monies had been paid, and ordered erring contractors to refund mobilization fees collected through the Central Bank of Nigeria. The presidential directive also mandates the NDDC to commission and put into use for the benefit of oil-producing communities all projects that have been successfully completed. This informed the commissioning recently of the 4-kilometer road built by the NDDC in Etegwe community, Yenagwa local government area of Bayelsa State. The lack of access to roads in Etegwe community, which is a swampy terrain, had informed NDDC's intervention involving a lot of excavation and sand filling to provide a solid foundation for construction. Impressed with the transformation of the entire landscape, members of the Etegwe community had commended the NDDC for a job well done.
This day, the people of Bozi Water 2 have expressed their profound gratitude and happiness to God and to your commission for this good and unexpected job that you have done for us.
On behalf of the Etegwe community, I want to thank NDDC for numerous road projects being carried out in this axis of Bozi Water 1 and 2, Dugu Streets, and also in the NIIT in Etegwe.
In his remark, Dr. Ogbuku noted that several similar projects had been executed by the NDDC across the Niger Delta region. He said henceforth, all completed NDDC projects would be commissioned for critics to see and appreciates the Commission's efforts at transforming the Niger Delta landscape.
Let the world see and let our partners, the IOCs that contribute in funding NDDC, the federal government that also fund NDDC, and other partners know that funds of NDDC are not just being shared as it is being perceived.
In the last 4 months, the NDDC has closely monitored a good number of its high-impact projects, one of which is the Obehi-Okekpe Road construction project in Ukwa West local government area of Abia State. Some 20 years after it was first constructed, the road had degenerated to a state of disrepair, making life difficult for commuters. This prompted the NDDC to award a contract for its reconstruction in April last year. Hopefully, the Obehi-Okekpe Road reconstruction project, which is now at its final stage of completion, will be commissioned in no distant time and is expected to revive commercial activities in the area. As an intervention agency, the NDDC has the mandate to complement infrastructure development with human capacity building to bring about balanced and sustainable developments in Nigeria's Niger Delta region. The emphasis on human capacity building in the Niger Delta takes cognizance of the fact that most unemployed youths in the region are languishing in the labor market for lack of requisite skills. In time past, the NDDC had rolled out several economic empowerment programs designed to provide youths with requisite skills and startup capital to become self-employed. However, previous efforts failed to achieve their desired goals, which is why youth unemployment rates have been on the increase over the years. Rising to the occasion, the current NDDC management has introduced a youth internship scheme designed to train youths in diverse vocations and provide job placements for them in companies that have already indicated interest to go into public-private partnerships with the Commission in developing critical infrastructure across the Niger Delta region. At a recent interactive meeting with youth leaders representing various ethnic groups in the Niger Delta, Dr. Ogbuku hinted that a Niger Delta Chamber of Commerce was in the offing to raise a new crop of young entrepreneurs in the region. According to the NDDC helmsman, it was a more sustainable approach to economic empowerment designed by the current leadership of the Commission.
This program is going to be a program for the youth of the Niger Delta, young entrepreneurs, because we want to encourage entrepreneurship. And it is not just keep giving you handouts every day. That will just call you, sit down, we'll give you handout. The day you agitate, we'll call you again, we'll give you handout. We don't want that kind of relationship. We want the kind of relationship that when you're doing well, you can also invite us to come and commission your business.
At the end of the interactive meeting, participants described the new approach to capacity building and job creation for youths as novel and inspiring.
NDDC is an intervention agency, so this is a process to chart the way forward.
For what we witnessed from his own speech, I saw some level of sincerity, some level of honesty, and we hope to see more of this.
In the current dispensation, the NDDC agenda for human capacity building and economic empowerment also make provision for women. Since she assumed office as chairman of the NDDC governing board, Loretta Onochie has held several meetings with representatives of diverse groups in the region. In her many engagements with women and other interest groups, Onochie has assured them of a better deal going forward, noting that the female gender accounts for one of the most vulnerable groups in a region trying to recover from the bedeviling trinity of poverty, insecurity, and underdevelopment.
The vision of this board is not just to empower people, particularly women and youth, but to make sure that the empowerment yields fruit. The days of throwing money at people, those days are over. When we empower people, when we draw out our empowerment programs, it's something we will follow up to make sure that they begin to yield fruit.
After carrying out an appraisal of the performance of the NDDC governing board in the last 6 months, not a few interest groups have given the Commission a pat on the back. One of such groups is the Ijaw Leaders Forum, which paid a solidarity visit to the Chief Executive Officer of the NDDC recently in Port Harcourt. Elder TK Ogoriba, who spoke on behalf of the group, described the appointment of Dr. Ogbuku and other members of the NDDC governing board as well deserved. When in October 2019, former President Buhari ordered a probe of NDDC activities, the idea was not only to unearth acts of malfeasance in the system, but also to strengthen the Commission to live up to expectations. So far, current managers of the NDDC have made spirited efforts to key into former President Muhammadu Buhari's vision for the NDDC and the Niger Delta region. However, the Commission still has to contend with challenges like delayed passage of its annual budgets, non-release of its statutory funds by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), and political interference in its operations. It is the considered opinion of concerned Niger Deltans that these are challenges that must be surmounted as a matter of urgency to enable the NDDC make meaningful progress as an intervention agency.
Inside the Niger Delta,